Hello, everyone. I think we have some attendees here. Thank you for joining us for our discussion panel today. Let me wait for a couple of minutes, around 1 minute. Please feel free to ask your questions by chat, and after the discussion panel, I will ask them in our Q&A session. Yep. I think we can start. And hello, everyone, and welcome to our discussion panel about the latest changes in the European Union App Store. And as you already know, Apple has announced new App Store terms for App Store in the European Union. And, there is some misleading information about new terms on the internet, and a lot of developers and founders trying to learn the new terms and what's the best option to choose. And they should choose new options or stick with the current ones. And it's really complicated sometimes. And today we're gonna dive deep into all the updates and explore differences between the new changes and discuss what exactly developers will face with new terms and more details. But before we get started, I want to invite you to join our Discord server. What we're doing in this community, and we share some industrial news, strategies, and app growth tips, and helping each other in the community. And really looking forward to seeing all of you there. I'll write the link comments in the below. And of course, we have two special guests for today's panel. I'm checking if they're can open the cams, Luca and Kirill. Yes, they're with us today, and let me introduce them to you. Our first guest is Kirill Potekhin from Adapty, co-founder and CPO. And our second guest is Luca Mastrorocco, co-founder at Replug. And I want to thank you both for joining us today, our discussion panel. And I think maybe we can start with first Kirill. Kirill, could you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and what you do in Adapty?
Yeah, hey Murat, hey everyone, thanks a lot for the introduction. I'm Kir. As Murat said, I'm co-founder and CPO at Adapty. So basically, I'm responsible for all the product developments that you can see in Adapty. And my previous background was doing and scaling my own application from from scratch to tens of millions of users. And while doing that, me and Vitaly, the other co-founder of Adapty, decided that we can bring some useful expertise and features to the product. So that's how the idea of Adapty was born. And over the last almost 5 years, we've been developing Adapty and producing lots of useful content and information to you, our customers. And hopefully today we'll highlight some interesting and not obvious details regarding the new EU policy of the App Store, and you can decide better whether it's something you'd like to try or not.
Thank you so much. And all right, Luca, could you please take the floor and tell us a little bit yourself as well? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Murat. Hi, everyone. So as Murat said, I am Luca. I'm one of the two co-founders at Replug. I take care of everything related to business commercial operation as well as partnership. I'm Italian, as you might have guessed from my name. Very difficult to pronounce it, but based in Berlin. I've been working in the industry, so in the mobile and digital industry for the past 13, 14 years. Always working with different agencies, ad networks, and together with Lorenzo, the other co-founder, also Italian, we launched Replug 4 years ago now. And we basically are a mobile app marketing agency where we help companies that have a mobile app to scale and optimize their marketing activities. I won't go into the details of our activities, but it's just like an high level introduction. And yeah, we're super excited to participate in the webinar because I think this is a very interesting topic, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you again so much. And I want to call for our guests and attendees. Please don't forget to write your questions if you have one. We'll be happy to answer them in our Q&A session. All right, I think we can start with the first question. Can we start with getting your thoughts about the new rules? I mean, could you please tell us what exactly developers will and founders will face with the new changes? You know, I think we can start with Luca.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting change. I think I believe it's probably a forced change from the EU to Apple. They didn't want to do it, but I think for the industry, for the users, it's gonna be interesting. I think it poses a lot of question marks that like many things that Apple has done in the past few years, I think they don't even have a clear answer yet. But let's say from developers or entrepreneurs perspective that have mobile apps, this is an interesting changes because it gives them flexibility, first of all, because now they have more choices, something that before in the Apple ecosystem was never there. You just had to have Apple as opposed to Android. It gives, of course, opportunity to differentiate the monetization strategies because now you can, as you know, you can redirect users to outside from within the app. It's allowed. There are no issues. At the same time, I think probably the most or the biggest challenge is the complexity that it adds to the strategies for companies, right? Because not everybody has a big company, a lot of resources to dedicate to this, because this applies only to EU customers. So I think it's interesting, and there's gonna be a lot of questions, and then there's gonna happen in the next few months. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's the beginning of a bigger shift in the iOS ecosystem.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your answer. Kirill?
Yeah, so I genuinely agree with Luca, and maybe I'll just briefly cover the main details of the new policy for those who are not familiar or maybe already forgotten about them. So basically, now for the customers in the EU, it's going to be like for the developers in the EU, it's going to be possible to choose between two different policies. So the first one is the existing one, which if you sell in-app subscriptions, you will pay either 15 or 30% commission towards Apple. With the new rules, it's going to be possible to avoid this commission at all if you use external payments. And if you still want to use App Store billing, it is also possible. And in this case, instead of 15 and 30% commission, it's going to be 13 and 20%. The caveat here is obviously 50 cents fee that you should pay for every install above 1 million, also coming from the EU, which is like a huge thing. So for some bigger applications, this could be like even much less profitable than just paying 30% commission. But in general, yeah, it makes, as Luca said, you have to think differently now in terms of which monetization strategy will work better for you. And yeah, I think that the general direction is good. It probably allows us to think that there will be some more changes around the corner. But at the same time, currently it looks like the Apple just did something that he was forced to do, and they tried to do it the most inconvenient way possible for the developers, which is also kind of predictable. So that's how I see this, I think, right now.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to ask my second questions. Maybe we can start with Kirill for now. Then let's say developers need to make the decision on new terms. We have some options. What are you thinking about what is the best option for the developers? Whether staying with the same rules, 30% commission, or if you're a small business member and 15% commission, or choosing the new options.
So I think that it mostly makes sense for the two categories of applications. So the first one is those applications that are not the members of the small business program, because for those on the small business program, the difference would be just 2%, which is, it might be noticeable, but the problem with the new terms is that you cannot turn back. So once you enrolled into the new EU policy, you will be there. Well, at least for now, you will be there forever. Maybe Apple will change it in the future, and you'll be able to switch back between the new and the old policies, maybe like once per year or something like that. But currently, once you did it, there is no turning back. And this is something you should definitely keep in mind, because at some point your ad strategy might change, and you will or unexpectedly you will see some really good growth from the EU, and this would mean that at some point you will have to pay for the installs, which is most of the time not something you like to kind of opt yourself in. So in my opinion, the first app category that definitely wins from this decision are those applications that are not the part of the small business program, so they generate more than 1 million per year. And most of the revenue is coming from the other countries, most likely United States, but still there are some good amount of revenue, let's say 200,000, euros per year, which is coming from the EU. And at the same time, you are well below the limit of 1 million installations per year from the EU. In this case, I think you should definitely consider switching to the new Apple policy, because for some of our customers at Adapty, we calculated that they might save roughly 50,000 euros per year on commissions after switching to this new policy. But once again, you have to be very cautious about the number of the installations, because if you go over 1 million, if you just go over 1 million slightly, it's going to be fine. But if you really breach it, it could be costly. So make sure you calculate everything correctly. And I'll repeat it again. Remember that once you enroll to the new policy, at this moment, you cannot kind of switch back to the previous version. And the second interesting approach is just is using alternative app stores. This is something that is not really covered at this moment, because as far as I know, there are no kind of public commitments from the bigger companies that they are ready to open alternative app stores. But once they will be there, and I think at some point we'll see some alternative app stores, maybe and most likely they should, in order to attract developers to the stores, they would promote it by offering some more interesting conditions on the payments. And in this case, I would research like what are the options there and think about getting there. But for now, if we have to summarize, I think that the bigger applications that that are not part of the App Store small business program and and they have reasonable amount of money coming from the European Union, they might be interested in applying this new policy. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think calculation is the key for this process. And Luca.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what Kirill is saying is very interesting. I was actually checking a little bit more to understand how Apple is planning this whole thing and how they promote it, so to say, to developers. There is actually a calculator online that Apple is offering to understand what is the advantage, economic advantage, of course, that developers can get. I think there's a link on the Apple website. Generally speaking, like I agree with Kirill, right? So it's like there's an advantage, there's an economic advantage into switching into the new terms. At the same time, it kind of has a lot of implications for developers, because then if you then have to apply all the the alternative payment options in the app, that has some interesting implications on how you also talk to the users. Because I think it's important to mention that Apple, like Kirill said at the beginning, like Apple complied with this because EU has forced them to do so, not because they just wanted to. And when they talk to users, they always say that, yeah, we're doing this because we want to give flexibility to our users. But just keep in mind that anything that happens outside of the Apple ecosystem, or anything that is managed by another provider that is not Apple, could be a source of malware, scam, anything. So, I think from a developer perspective, so there is no rush into switching terms. Apple is not saying, okay, you have to do it by March, otherwise you cannot do it anymore. If you are a big app, like Kirill was mentioning, you make a lot of money in Europe, then it might make sense to do it immediately. If you're kind of in the middle still, then might be something that you want to probably wait up and see what happens, right? Because this is also new and no one really knows. I think also Apple doesn't know. And I think there's also something very interesting when it comes to the alternative payment options offered in the app. And this is something that probably we will discuss later when we talk about like subscription apps, of course. But like from my understanding as of today, what happens is that you either offer Apple in-app purchases or alternative payment solutions in the app. And you don't have the possibility to offer both at the same time. This is what I understood. And again, at the same time, whenever you do that, which from a developer perspective is more convenient because you pay less fees to Apple, you also have to communicate to the users that they are leaving the Apple ecosystem. So thinking from a user perspective, you are there ready to make a purchase, and then Apple shows a pop-up saying, hey, you're leaving Apple ecosystem. Just be aware that this is something that we don't manage. It can be tricky if your brand is not strong enough and gives trust to users. Yeah, because if I'm a user and a random developer is asking me to go and pay somewhere else, I'm like, maybe not. So it's something to keep in mind, I think. Yeah. So there's no I wouldn't say from my perspective, there is no one, yes, do it, or no, don't do it. Just kind of, if you're a small developer, probably keep it safe, have a look. Apple says that I think only 1% or 2% of developers right now falls into that over 1 million installs in the 12-month period. So obviously they say, okay, if you're in the other 98%, you're gonna make more money out of this. but it's also contradicting what they say. So I'll be cautious, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it depends, right?
That's the best answer.
Yeah. And I want to go through to alternative marketplaces. As you know, marketplaces creators must provide a standby letter of credit from a top-rated bank. I guess it's 1 million standby letter or something like that. And do you think that we'll see alternative marketplaces on the App Store in the nearest future? I mean, from Meta, Epic Games, or Microsoft, maybe Spotify. We can say more. Luca, what do you think about it?
I think so. I actually think, I mean, I'm pretty, I mean, probably not soon, like not in the next 2, 3 months, because again, there's a lot of processes that Apple has to put developers through to get this Apple alternative app store in place. But I think these, especially from us, that we work in the marketing space, that think about promotion, alternative ways to reach users. I think this is probably the most interesting thing happening because it's already happening in the Android ecosystem. So that's already there. Alternative app stores is already there. And of course, you say Facebook, Epic. I mean, that's rightly so. I'm pretty sure they will do it for them. Showing 1 million in the bank account or whatever they asked is not a problem. So they would just do it like this. But I think like one thing that I'd be curious to see is like, what about the OEMs on Android? They already have their own ecosystem. They already built it on Android. Now, potentially, they could also get on the iOS users and start doing this. I mean, we as a company, as an agency, have been using OEM, so alternative app stores, alternative channels, so to say, from OEM, as a way to advertise apps. And it actually works, not for everyone, of course, there has to be specific cases, but it's an interesting opportunity. So I think this is going to be interesting. And of course, when you look at the Meta, the Epic, Spotify, all these big guys, all the ad networks as well, right? I mean, Uploadings, all these guys. For them, it's just a new way to create a way, so to say, to get an additional point in their ecosystem of advertising and monetize users. I mean, it's going to be interesting again because it creates a lot of intricacies between Apple and then Facebook, maybe, or all these companies. I think it's going to be very, very nice. So probably by the end of this year, we're going to see someone popping up with this.
Yeah, thank you. Kir, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I also think that we'll see alternative stores at some point. But in my opinion, the biggest kind of factor that we should consider here is that those who provide an alternative stores, they would also have to pay 50 cents commission for the every install, and not over 1 million, but for the every install from their app stores. And in this case, it could drastically limit the number of the companies that can either afford or justify it for them, because probably I think Facebook or maybe Google or Microsoft, yeah, I would say some of them should be the first in this market, because for them maybe it will open some new, as Lucas said, like marketing opportunities. Maybe it's going to be possible to communicate with the end users like in the more direct ways that are currently possible. So I'm not sure kind of 100% that it's going to be financially feasible for them right away. But if we account for maybe potential marketing upsides or advertisement upsides that they will see, probably this is going to be a major factor. But yeah, so in the beginning, like before reading the information about necessity to pay this 50 cents fee for the every installation, I thought that yeah, Epic Games might be interested too, because they would like to distribute Fortnite and like other applications. But with the introduction of this fee, I think they would have to think twice whether it's going to be efficient for them to go this way or not. So, like, long story short, I think that we'll see some app stores, but not like hundreds of them in the first months. That's I'm pretty positive about.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I want to continue with the App Store fees. What do you think about the impact of the App Store fees, and how will the new options impact the fees and developers' revenue models, and what strategies should developers consider on the new fees? Maybe we can continue with this. And Kirill, please.
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned it like a couple of answers ago. So for some developers, it's definitely interesting, but yeah, in general, you have to be cautious. If we speak about it like more from the like how this change would affect, I don't know, Android ecosystem maybe, and broader App Store ecosystem, not just this alternative stores, but maybe some similar approaches in the other regions, because we also know that for some time Apple and I believe Google, they were testing alternative payments in South Korea and some other markets too. So yeah, I think in general that like this direction is definitely looking good because yeah, alternative payment systems will see broader usage among developers and therefore among the customers too. So at some point they will be more familiar with using some external tools to initiate the payments rather than just built-in App Store, Play Store options. So I think in the long run, it should definitely be a good sign for the market. But currently, as Lucas said previously, if you are not sure that this will benefit your application, probably it's better to sit out and see how it goes for the other developers. Maybe you'll see some real data, some advices, and then you'll have to be able to kind of do the best decision for yourself. So yeah, that's how I see it currently.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're gonna ask me, so I'm just gonna jump in.
Yeah.
So no, I agree with Kirill. I mean, I think we already kind of discussed this in a way before these questions, but there is obviously the consideration that what's the benefit, right, from a developer perspective, how much more money they're gonna make, as opposed to what's the hassle of it, because again, there is the fee like you can check on Apple how that works, like how much more money you can make, of course. But having alternative payment methods in the app also means that developer will have to manage these things. Of course, if you use again third party, of course, cool, perfect. Then you have to ensure that they are in, they are providing like I don't know, if someone wants to cancel subscription or want the refunds, the taxes. I mean, Apple's, it makes it very clear that they are not going to take care of this. So unless developer have the resources to do so, there might be, let's say, a superficial revenue, more revenue made. But if you look a little bit below the surface, then there might be more work. And then is it really worth? So what's the opportunity cost there for developers? So again, I think like just to reiterate what we said earlier, it's just like if you are, unless you're making a lot of money in Europe and really this makes a lot of difference from a bottom line, I would probably play it safe in that sense. That's my 2 cents, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you. And I wanted to go with the third-party payments and customer management. How might the new rules impact subscription-based apps regarding the third-party payments and customer management, refunds, and yeah, some troubles. Yeah, Luca.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I think as of today, I think, and probably for the first few months, there's not going to be big changes for subscription-based apps, right? I mean, subscription-based apps have pushed through ads, right? Subscription on the web already. Now this is just an additional way to say to users that are in the app, hey, go outside and just pay there. But again, this can be definitely interesting because it gives an opportunity. But at the same time, as I was mentioning earlier, developers will have to disclose that there is a third party involved in the payment. Apple is very clear. They have templates that developers need to implement in the flow. You cannot use weird language, so they will be very strict on it. And again, if you are developers that has a good brand, trustworthy, then might be easy to convince users to do that. Otherwise, if you're just a small developer that is kind of trying to get to pay less fee to Apple, so to say, in this way, you might actually face a different situation where user might go like, not sure if this is trustworthy, not sure if I should give my credit cards here to these guys who knows what's behind. I mean, those are questions that might come up, and then you lose the transaction. So it's kind of something to keep in mind. I believe at the end of the day, this probably in the next, not immediately, but probably a little bit more down the line, it will become more common. Users will be more accustomed to it, and then it will be widely used across developers. So just to summarize, I guess it depends on the stage of the subscription app and how big the company is, how trustworthy the brand is. But it's an interesting thing that is happening.
Yeah, and imagine I'm an indie developer and no one knows my brand, and I'm showing this scary screen. Hey, you're going outside of the Apple, please.
I mean, that's funny, right? Because Apple is going like, oh no, we want to give flexibility to everyone. I want to help developer, but we want to protect our users. So
privacy, hey, be careful. And yeah, it's a funny story. And Kirill, can we hear your thoughts?
So I also think that for the smaller developers, it's going to be pretty complicated. But at the same time, as I said previously, I think that this generally makes customers more willing to pay outside of the App Store, like once they start seeing it more often. And even now, we see among Adapty customers and generally on the market that there is a growing adoption of the web payments that are not like kind of built into the application, but so-called web funnels that are leading to the application. So instead of asking for subscribing in the application, developers ask customers to subscribe outside on the web, and then after they attach the payment details, they can go to proceed to downloading the application and use all the paid features. And this has several benefits, obviously, because, first, there is no 30 or 15% commission. Secondly, the attribution works there much better. But at the same time, conversions are usually worse because like the payment flow is not that straightforward. So we definitely see some shift in how especially bigger app developers are trying to subscribe their customers now. And as I said previously, having having more direct ways to promote external apps, external payment solutions, I think is a good thing. But yeah, you have to understand that with that comes subscription management, and it's not just the activation part. It also handling renewals, handling refunds, handling some other situations like billing issues, and most of the time it could be pretty expensive to implement it yourself and do it the right way. So the best case here probably is to find some external provider who does that for you, like Adapty, for example, and this can definitely help. But yeah, in general, as we said multiple times, please calculate your potential returns and your expenses to make sure that these new developments will be profitable for you.
Mm. Sorry if I can jump in. Sorry, it's like I like Kirill actually said something that is very important. I believe the conversion funnel. Like on the web, there's already conversion rate is worse, right, than in app. And now if you link someone outside of the app, and again you have this pop up from the Apple, what's the conversion rate looking like there? Because not only it's just the web, you also have Apple saying, "Hey, you're going outside. Be careful." So something to kind of keep in mind there.
Yeah. And I want to continue with your predictions for the future of the App Store. And I'm wondering that is possible to see these changes, I mean, alternative payments and alternative marketplaces outside the European Union. I mean, in the US maybe. Yeah, we can continue with Kirill. What do you think about it?
I wouldn't be so sure about the US, to be honest, because like it's an Apple's home ground, and they normally try to kind of try to play together. But I think some other countries definitely will follow this route. As I said, like there were some trials in South Korea. Maybe we'll have more countries like that. And yeah, maybe at some point Apple will find solution that will be beneficial to them as well. And in this case, we can definitely see the implementation in the United States as well. But I think right now, at this moment, as we said several times, Apple did it because they were forced to do it, and they tried to show that they are kind of trying to comply, but at the same time, they definitely show developers that, well, we don't want you to go this road, especially if you are a bigger developer that makes the most like money for Apple. So yeah, I think that unless this will be beneficial to Apple too, I would not expect something similar in the United States, but that's my assumption, and reality obviously could be different here.
Yeah, maybe we can see it in Asian countries. Who knows?
Yeah.
Luca, thank you.
Yeah, I think I agree with Kirill. I think it's like they're gonna be probably other markets that are going to force. And the EU has always been very cautious about, like giving fair competitions, privacy, GDPR, right? There are gonna be other countries that are gonna follow with this. Let's see. I think Apple is not really keen right now to open up these options to other markets. I mean, if you read their statement on the website, they are very clear on the fact that they are complying because there's been a ruling that says that they have to do this. But they believe that anything that happens outside of the Apple ecosystem is or can be source of issues, malware, scam. They want to protect the users, so they just have to do it. I think Kirill said something very important, that the moment Apple realized that this is financially feasible, it has an impact on the bottom line. Probably they will actually then develop, because I'm sure probably they're just looking at that. they will probably then allow also this to happen in the States, right? At the end of the day, I mean, if you think about it, until today they monetize through in-app purchases. Now they're allowing alternative payments in the app to kind of also maybe go against this web conversion that we were discussing. Also maybe to take a little bit of that pie. So maybe if they see that there's a bigger shift, they actually make money out of it, then maybe they will see, oh, okay, cool, let's try another market that, where there's more revenue. I mean, Europe is definitely not the most advanced in terms of technology and smartphone. Like Asian countries are way ahead of us. US is way ahead of us. So probably this is just for them a testing ground for something bigger. So yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's gonna happen. Probably not this year though.
I think I got all answers from you, you both, and I'm I'm checking right now if we have any questions. Please write in the comments if you have any questions. We'll be very happy to answer. And I don't know if I forget something to ask you, Luca and Kirill. Please remind me.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I think we have no questions. But yeah, we have a chance to reach you on social, I guess. And I want to ask you, what's the best way to reach you on social media, Luca and Kirill?
Yeah, I mean, you find me on LinkedIn, obviously. Please, let's keep it to LinkedIn, not Instagram. My name, I think, is quite unique, so you will find me there. Of course, you can also check our webpage. Replug is not Replug, it's rplg.io, so it's slightly different. But you will see, you can, of course, reach out to me if you have any questions and you would just want to kind of dig deeper into the topic. And I'm actually going to share in the chat, if I can, the calculator from Apple, because I just found it.
Yeah, sure.
There you
go. I think I can share with everyone here. I think everyone can see it right now. And what's the best way to reach you, Kirill? On LinkedIn, maybe?
Yeah, you can also find me on LinkedIn, and I guess, it's also quite easy to find me there using my name and last name. Should you decide to implement external payments, and if you don't want to deal with like technical integration and managing refunds and stuff like that, make sure to check Adapty, because we have several external payment providers implemented already. And we also have a solution for constructing the web funnels. So it should be beneficial to you. And thanks a lot for joining. And hopefully it's going to be interesting. It was interesting, and you can take something out of it.
Yeah, really, it was so insightful. And I want to thank you all for joining today's webinar. You, my guests, and our attendees. And I hope to see you all in our next webinars and discussion panels. We also have a new webinar in the next week at the same time. You can check Adapty.io website to see our events and webinars, and also you can subscribe our social media, Discord server. We're waiting for you all. And thank you so much for joining. See you in the next webinars and events then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.